On the night my daughter graduated, I thought the world would finally feel soft again. The applause faded. The lights cooled. I was still clutching the folded program with her name printed in gold, and a tiny ink smudge where my thumb had held too tight. On the chair beside me sat the sealed diploma case, ribbon unbroken, like a promise we hadn't opened yet. I placed my phone on top of it. The screen lit up. One voicemail. Unknown caller. I pressed play before I could talk myself out of it. You failed her. They'll come for you. The voice was calm. Not angry. Not loud. Calm like a nurse who has already seen the X-ray and knows the truth before you do. I stood very still. The janitor's broom kept moving in slow figure eights. Confetti clung to the stage curtains. Somewhere outside, a car alarm chirped and went quiet again. I replayed the message. Same words. Same temperature. Same verdict. I slipped the program into my bag beside a printed email I had carried for months, the internship offer with the blue stamp at the bottom that said approved. I touched the stamp like it could answer for me. I wanted paper to be stronger than people. I wanted ink to be a shield. My hand said otherwise. In the lobby, I found a trash can and fished out a crumpled flyer for the ceremony. Pencil marks ran along the edge. A number, half erased. 3 digits I recognized from a parent committee I never joined. My heart tapped once, hard. I took a photo of the scribble. I took a screenshot of the voicemail notice. I needed artifacts. If the room wanted to lie to me, the paper wouldn't. Outside, my daughter laughed with friends under the marquee. Her cap tilted. Her smile was bright and careful, the way grown girls smile when they have already learned to hide. I raised a hand to wave and lowered it before she saw. The message hummed under my skin like a wire. I pressed play one last time. The same sentence cut clean through the night. You failed her. They'll come for you. I looked down at the diploma case. The ribbon hadn't slipped. The knot had. The parking lot hummed like a low engine of secrets. Sodium lights painted everything a tired yellow. I walked slowly, the diploma case pressed to my ribs, my phone warm in my palm. I saved the voicemail. I saved the screenshot. I saved the photo of the penciled numbers on the flyer. I needed the night to know I was paying attention. In the car, I spread the artifacts on the passenger seat. Folded program, internship letter with the blue stamp, receipt for the bakery cake I'd canceled last week when my card failed, a crumpled RSVP card no one had mailed back. I opened the glove box and surprised myself. A thin, brown envelope slid forward, stamped with a red line. Delivery attempted, signature required. My name on the label. Postmarked 2 months ago. I tore it carefully. Inside, a single sheet on heavy paper. Internship offer status, deferred pending review. At the bottom, a wet-looking black stamp, cruel in its neatness, rescinded. The air thinned. I laid the notice on the dashboard and tilted it toward the light, as if the reason might bleed through the fibers. No reason. Just the word. Rescinded. I thought of her walking across the stage, a smile that never reached the corners. I thought of the week she had asked for bus money, though the stipend should have covered it. I thought of the question she dodged when I asked about her advisor. Paper had stayed quiet while my daughter learned to do the same. My phone buzzed. A new voicemail from the same unknown. I didn't press play. Not yet. I opened notes and typed a plain sentence, the way a nurse writes the truth. Found rescind letter in glove box. Date, 2 months ago. Who hid it? I took a photo of the letter. I took a photo of my hands holding it, so I'd remember how they shook. Outside, the marquee flickered. Laughter thinned to night air. I remember the half-erased digits on the flyer and dialed them anyway. The call didn't ring. It slid to a recorded voice telling me the mailbox was full. I listened to the silence behind that sentence. It sounded like a decision someone had already made. I finally pressed play on the new message. A breath, then the same voice, measured, almost kind. Look in her bag before she gets home. The passenger window reflected my face, small and gray under the parking lot moon. I turned the key. I watched the lobby doors. She stepped out with her friends. Cap tilted, ribbon untied at last. She saw me. She lifted a hand. She walked alone toward the car. She opened the door, slid into the seat, and buckled her belt without looking at me. Then she spoke, voice soft, like a door closing. Don't call them. Her voice was almost a whisper, but it struck through me like metal. Don't call them. I kept my hands on the steering wheel, the engine still off. Her eyes stared straight ahead, not at me, not at anything. I wanted to ask who they were, but the words caught in my throat. She sat perfectly still, her graduation robe folded neatly over her lap. Under the parking lot lights, I noticed faint smudges on the fabric, dark streaks, almost like ink, almost like ash. I said her name softly. She didn't move. I tried again, louder this time. She finally turned her head, her expression unreadable. Did someone give you a message? I asked. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Instead, she reached into her bag, slow and deliberate. My pulse stuttered. She pulled out a small, square envelope, the kind used for thank you notes. The paper looked heavy, expensive, the kind that leaves a faint smell of iron when wet. She placed it on the dashboard between us. For you, she said quietly. They told me to give it after the ceremony. The envelope wasn't sealed. Inside was a printed photo, blurry, grayscale, taken from above, like from a camera in a corner. The image showed me, standing at a counter in the campus office. My hand held the original internship letter. Across the bottom of the photo, words were typed in small, uneven print. This was never meant for her. I stared at it, the edges trembling between my fingers. When did you get this? I asked. She hesitated. A week ago. From who? Her gaze dropped. Mom, it's better if you don't ask. My phone vibrated again, one new voicemail, same unknown number. Before I could stop her, she reached across and pressed play. The voice was clearer this time, closer. She knows now. Get her home. She locked eyes with me then. Wide, terrified, but calm in that strange way a child looks when she's already accepted something. I turned the key. The car came to life. She whispered, Don't stop for anyone. The drive home took 14 minutes. I didn't remember the turns. Only the silence between us. Thick, waiting, like the world was holding its breath. The highway stretched out like a single gray thread, rain just beginning to mist across the windshield. She sat beside me, silent, her hands folded neatly over the diploma on her knees. Every few seconds, the seatbelt buckle caught the streetlight and flashed like a warning. I wanted to speak, to ask what was happening, but her eyes stayed fixed on the dark road ahead. It was the stillness that frightened me more than the words on the messages. My daughter had never been still. Halfway home, she reached for the radio and turned the volume down until only static whispered through the speakers. Mom, she said quietly, if someone asks, tell them I never got the offer. I glanced at her. What are you talking about? Who would? She cut me off with a slow shake of her head. Please, just say it. Her phone buzzed in her lap. She didn't move to answer. The caller ID showed private number. I felt my throat tighten. Do you want me to? No, she whispered. They already know where we are. The rain thickened. Headlights carved brief tunnels of light through the water. I focused on the white lines, counting each one, trying to breathe evenly. In the reflection of the windshield, her face looked pale, drawn, older somehow. At the next red light, she finally looked at me. You always told me honesty saves people, she said, voice trembling. But what if the truth is what got us here? Before I could answer, the phone on the console vibrated again. The same unknown number. A new voicemail notification appeared, then disappeared before either of us touched it. We didn't speak the rest of the way. Only the hum of tires and the low growl of the storm filled the car. When we pulled into the driveway, she exhaled, shaky, like she'd been holding her breath the entire drive. Promise me one thing, she said, fingers tight around the diploma case. If I'm not home tomorrow, don't look for me. The porch light flickered on by itself. Somewhere behind us, a car engine idled unseen. The porch light flickered twice before holding steady. I turned off the engine, but the headlights stayed on, washing the rain across her face in thin silver lines. She didn't move to get out. The diploma case was still in her lap, the ribbon now wet, bleeding faint red onto the leather. Who's out there? I whispered. She didn't answer. Her eyes darted toward the side mirror. A dark shape, maybe a car, sat across the street. No lights, no sound, just the faint rhythm of an engine idling. I reached for my phone. She stopped me, her hand gripping my wrist, small but unshaking. "Mom, please. Don't call anyone. Not the police. Not them." Her voice cracked on the last word, like something splintering inside her. We sat like that for a long moment, two figures in a parked car, pretending time hadn't moved. Then, slowly, she opened her door. The sound of rain rushed in, cool and metallic. She stepped out, holding the diploma tight against her chest. Her shoes splashed softly on the wet driveway. I followed her to the porch. The smell of wet earth mixed with the faint sweetness of lavender from the old bush near the stairs. When she reached the door, she paused, turning to face me. Her mascara had run, thin black trails tracing down to her chin. "Everything you thought you knew about that internship, it wasn't mine to have," she said. "It was someone else's. They made me take it." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Who made you?" Before she could answer, a sharp click came from somewhere down the street. A flash. A camera shutter. Or maybe lightning. I couldn't tell anymore. She turned, eyes wide. "They're watching," she whispered. Then, before I could stop her, she slipped inside the house and locked the door from within. The porch light flickered again. Once. Twice. Then went dark. I stood in the rain, staring at the door she just locked. The porch light had died, but the glow from the street lamp spilled enough light to show the rain dripping down the wood panels. I knocked once, softly. No answer. Then louder. Still nothing. I tried the handle. It wouldn't budge. I pressed my forehead against the glass, calling her name. Silence. Only the creak of the old wind chime swinging above the porch, its sound swallowed by the storm. Inside, a faint light flickered, like the glow of a phone screen moving through the hallway. I saw her silhouette pass once, twice, then stop completely. I could hear her voice now, low, hurried, speaking to someone I couldn't see. My pulse quickened. I pressed closer to the window, trying to catch the words. "I did what you asked. She doesn't know yet. Please, just..." Then silence. The phone light disappeared. I felt the chill of the rain seep into my bones. My fingers shook as I reached for my own phone. One new voicemail. Unknown number. The same voice as before, whispering like it was just behind my ear. She told them everything. "Get inside." I turned, scanning the street. The dark car was still there, but now the engine was off. The windshield wipers stopped mid-motion, frozen. No one stepped out. No door opened. Just stillness. I grabbed the spare key from under the mat and forced it into the lock. It turned easily. She hadn't bolted it completely. The house smelled of wet paper and lemon cleaner. Her shoes were by the door, perfectly aligned. Her robe lay folded on the armchair. But she wasn't in the living room. "Sweetheart." I called softly. No sound. Then, faintly from down the hall, the creak of her bedroom door opening on its own. And a voice, small and trembling, not hers this time. "She shouldn't have shown you the picture." The sound froze me in place. It wasn't her voice. It was lower, thinner, like someone trying to speak through a bad connection. But it came from the end of the hallway. I took one slow step forward. The floorboards groaned beneath my feet, old wood protesting against secrets it had never agreed to keep. The air felt colder the farther I moved, like walking into a house I no longer owned. Her bedroom door was half open. Light flickered inside, the bluish strobe of a phone screen switching between apps. I could hear breathing. Not calm, not panicked, just waiting. "Who's there?" I whispered. The screen light dimmed, then brightened again. On the desk lay her phone, unlocked, camera still on. It faced the wall, but the wall showed my own reflection. Behind me, I turned sharply. Nothing. Just the empty hallway, the rain tapping the window, and the sound of my own breathing, uneven and loud. Then her voice came, my daughter's this time, small and breaking. "Mom, please don't look at the messages." She was sitting in the corner, knees drawn to her chest, still in the graduation dress, strands of hair stuck to her wet face. Beside her lay the diploma case, open now, the ribbon torn. Inside wasn't a certificate, only another envelope. Plain, white, unmarked. She looked up at me, eyes red. "They made me hide it. If they knew you found out, they'd..." A sharp buzz cut her off. Her phone screen flashed. A new voicemail appeared, Unknown number. This time, the preview text didn't vanish right away. It stayed on the screen long enough for both of us to read it. The house isn't safe anymore. Before I could move, all the lights went out. The sound of rain stopped, replaced by the slow creak of the front door opening again on its own. For a moment, I couldn't tell if the darkness was real or if my mind had simply refused to see more. The sound of the door moving was slow, deliberate, like someone wanted us to hear it. I grabbed my daughter's hand. Her skin was ice cold, trembling but steady. "Stay behind me," I whispered. She nodded, clutching the torn diploma case to her chest. The air in the hallway had changed. It smelled faintly of rain and something else, burnt paper maybe. I felt the weight of the house, every beam and nail pressing inward, listening. From the front door, soft footsteps crossed the floorboards. Wet soles. Measured. Unhurried. "Who's there?" I called. No answer. Just another step. Then another. And the faint sound of dripping water. I reached for the nearest thing, a brass candle holder, and lifted it like a weapon. The light from the phone screen flickered against the walls, catching shapes that shouldn't have been there. A shadow near the hallway corner, taller than any person could be, then gone as soon as I blinked. My daughter whispered, "Mom, we have to go." But the front door slammed shut again with a deafening crack, shaking the frame. We both flinched. Her phone buzzed once more, lighting the room in pale blue. Another voicemail. This one played automatically. The same calm voice, clearer than ever. "Leave the envelope. Take her and go out the back." I stared at the envelope still clutched in her hands. It looked heavier than paper should. The corners were damp, the seal smeared. I reached for it, but she pulled back. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the rainwater on her cheeks. "They said if I ever opened it, they'd find you first." The house creaked again, louder this time, as if something unseen shifted its weight above us. The ceiling light flickered back on, not all of them, just one bulb over the hallway. It swayed slightly, casting our shadows long and thin against the walls. I took her hand again. "We're leaving," I said, my voice shaking but certain. We stepped toward the back door, every step a heartbeat. As I turned the handle, my daughter whispered, barely audible, "Mom, what if leaving is what they want?" The handle clicked. The door opened to a night, so dark it swallowed the porch whole. And from somewhere behind us, the voicemail voice, calm, male, and terribly close, spoke again. "You're already too late." The words hung in the air, smooth and final, like a door ceiling shut. I froze, my hand still gripping the handle. The cold wind pushed against us, carrying the faint scent of wet soil and something metallic, like rust or old blood. My daughter's breath hitched. "Mom," she whispered, "we shouldn't be here." I turned the phone toward the sound, its dim light sweeping the kitchen. Nothing. Only rain dripping from the ceiling beam and the faint hum of the refrigerator struggling to restart after the blackout. But the air felt occupied, like someone had just left the room a second before we entered. "We're leaving," I said again, forcing my voice steady. I stepped out first. The grass outside was soaked, shining under the moon like a sheet of oil. Each step squelched softly, the mud pulling at my shoes. Behind us, the back door creaked open wider on its own. She followed, holding the envelope close to her chest as if it were something alive. When we reached the fence, I stopped. A single motion light on the neighbor's wall flickered on, but there was no movement. No figure. Just the faint flutter of wet curtains inside their window. Then her phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. Before she could stop me, I hit play. This time, the voice wasn't calm. It was hurried, almost panicked. "They know you've seen the letter. Don't trust the girl. The one with you isn't her." The message ended abruptly. I turned to her. She stood very still, her head bowed, the envelope dripping rainwater onto the grass. "What does that mean?" I asked, my words trembling. Her shoulders tightened, but she didn't answer. Her shadow stretched long across the wet ground, and for a heartbeat, just one, it didn't match her movements. I stepped back. "Sweetheart." She looked up then, eyes glassy and wrong, too dark, too wide. Her voice came out low, steady, nothing like before. "Mom," she said, "you weren't supposed to hear that message." And before I could speak, she tore the envelope open. The rain stopped. Every sound in the world seemed to fold in on itself. Inside the envelope was a single photograph, grainy, printed on cheap paper. It showed me, sitting alone in the car, smiling. No one in the passenger seat. I stared at the photo, the edges bleeding ink from the rain. It couldn't be real. I could still feel her beside me, her breathing, the warmth of her hand. But the photo said otherwise, just me, the empty seat gleaming in the dashboard light. My mouth went dry. I looked up. She, or whatever stood in front of me, didn't move. The wind picked up, flattening her hair against her face, but she didn't blink. "Where were you when this was taken?" I whispered. Her expression didn't change. "I was with you," she said. Her tone was wrong. Calm. Almost rehearsed. Lightning cracked across the sky, white and violent. For an instant the world was bright, enough for me to see her reflection in the puddle by our feet. It wasn't hers. It was mine. I stumbled backward, nearly slipping. The photograph fell from my hand and stuck to the wet grass. She stepped forward slowly, each movement too precise, like a puppet following cues. "Mom," she said again, her smile twitching at the corners. "You shouldn't have listened." I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs. "What are you?" I managed to say. She tilted her head, her voice suddenly softer. "I'm the version you saved." My knees nearly gave out. Her eyes shimmered, brown shifting to gray, gray to black. Behind her, the house lights flickered one last time before dying completely. The rain started again, but slower now, almost deliberate. "You wrote that letter for me," she continued, voice echoing strangely, as though someone else spoke with her. "You wanted to protect me from what happened, so they sent me instead." The world around us seemed to tilt, like the ground was trying to remember which way was down. I turned to run, but she caught my wrist, her grip stronger than it should have been. Her skin was ice. From up close, I could see faint writing on her neck, inked letters bleeding through her skin, rescinded. I screamed, twisting free, and sprinted toward the fence. But before I reached it, the voicemail alert chimed again from my pocket. Hands shaking, I pulled out the phone. One new message. The same calm voice as before. Only 4 words this time. "Don't run. Look back." I turned and saw her standing perfectly still in the rain, the diploma case open in her hands. Inside it, where the certificate should have been, was a second photograph, this time taken from the backyard, of me, running. My breath caught in my throat. I stood frozen, rain pouring down my hair and face, eyes fixed on the photo in her hands. It showed me exactly as I was now, turned halfway toward the fence, mouth open, eyes wide. Even the rain streaks matched. The picture wasn't a memory. It was this moment, printed before it finished happening. I staggered backward. The mud sucked at my shoes like the earth wanted to keep me still. How do you have that?" I whispered. She didn't answer. Her head tilted slightly, her wet hair clinging to her cheeks. "You see," she said softly, "they always know where you'll go. That's why they called." Her voice sounded like mine now, same tone, same rhythm, the same faint break at the end of each breath. I felt a shiver run through me that had nothing to do with the cold. "Who are you?" "I told you," she said, taking one slow step closer. "I'm what you made when you decided to save her." The diploma case slipped from her fingers. The photographs scattered across the wet grass like dying leaves. Each one showed me, sleeping, driving, cooking, crying, scenes I remembered but had never been photographed. Some were from years ago, some from yesterday, and one, at the very bottom, showed my daughter, standing in the same backyard, but the photo was burned at the edges, her face half gone. Lightning struck again, closer this time. The flash lit her eyes, empty, dark, reflecting nothing. Then she smiled. "They said you'd trade anything to undo what happened," she murmured. "Even her." Something in me broke. I lunged forward, grabbing her shoulders, shaking her. "Where's my daughter?" She didn't resist. She just stared at me, smiling through the rain. "She's where I came from," she said quietly. "Where the messages started." The phone in my pocket vibrated again. I didn't look at it, but the voice played anyway, clear and calm, carried on the wind. "She failed the test," it said. "Now it's your turn." I looked down at the phone screen and saw the words appearing one by one, as if typed in real time. Do you want her back? The light in the house flickered once. The shadow by the window moved. And from inside, faint and unmistakable, came her voice, my real daughter's voice, calling softly, terrified. Mom, please don't open the door. Her voice came from deep within the house, muffled but desperate. It was her tone, her cadence, the sound I'd known since the day she first called me Mom. Every instinct in me screamed to run toward it, but the thing standing before me, the one wearing her face, smiled through the rain, still motionless. She's scared, I said. She's trapped in there. She's not, the copy whispered. She's waiting. I stepped closer, my heart thundering in my chest. You don't get to speak for her, I said, voice shaking but firm. You don't even breathe like her. Her expression changed then, the faintest flicker of irritation, almost human. Lightning cracked again, and in that split second of light, I saw what I hadn't before. Her reflection in the puddle was facing the wrong way. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. She didn't move, but her voice came from behind me now. I told you not to listen to them, but you always have to open the door. The wind held. The back door slammed shut with such force that the windows rattled. I turned and saw it glow faintly red around the edges, like heat pressing through the seams. My phone buzzed in my hand, vibrating so hard I almost dropped it. The screen lit with a single line of text. Choose. Then 2 options appeared beneath it. 1, let her out. 2, walk away. I looked toward the door, then back to the figure by the fence. She was smiling wider now, her head tilted, the rain sliding off her skin like glass. Mom. The voice from inside pleaded again, closer now, almost right behind the door. It's really me. Please. I took a step toward it. Say something only she'd know, I demanded. A pause. Then softly. When I was 5, I drew a family picture. You said it looked like the sun was crying. So I drew another one, where the sun was smiling just to make you laugh. The air left my lungs. That memory was ours. No one else could have known it. I reached for the doorknob and froze. Because behind me, the other voice, the one that had pretended to be her, repeated the same words, perfectly synchronized, word for word, breath for breath. 2 identical voices, one crying behind the door, one whispering behind my ear. Then both said together, Please, Mom, let me out. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. The rain had gone thin and soundless, more like mist drifting through light. Only those voices filled the air, the same tone, the same pleading rhythm, overlapping like a broken recording. I pressed my palm to the wet wood of the door. The handle trembled beneath my fingers, as if someone on the other side was trying not to knock. Every nerve in my body screamed to pull it open. But then, from behind me, the copy whispered again, closer now. You know she always hides behind doors when she's afraid. It was true. When she was little, she'd crawl behind the pantry door during storms, clutching her blanket until I came to find her. That memory struck, so deep it almost made me move. Almost. I took a breath, steadying my voice. If you're really her, I said, tell me what happened the night your father left. Silence. Both voices stopped at once. Even the wind paused, like the world was waiting for the answer. Then the one behind the door spoke, small and trembling. You told me not to cry. You said love doesn't disappear, it just moves houses. My chest tightened. That was the truth. My truth. But before I could move, the other voice, the one behind me, spoke in perfect imitation. You told me not to cry. You said love doesn't disappear, it just moves houses. The same words. The same break on love. The same breath at the end. I turned slowly. She stood only a few steps away now, her head bowed, rain sliding down her pale skin. The writing on her neck, rescinded, glowed faintly under the lightning. Her hands were empty now, but her smile was not. They're both me, she said softly. You just have to decide which version you'll keep. The phone in my hand vibrated again, almost violently. The screen flickered, showing 2 live feeds, one from inside the house, one from the backyard. Both showed me, standing in different places, facing different doors. The voice returned, not hers, not mine, calm, surgical. Only one of you walks out when the door opens. The handle under my palm turned on its own. The door creaked open an inch, warm light spilling through the crack. From inside came a quiet sob, real, human, terrified. And from behind me, the imitation stepped forward and whispered in my ear, gentle as a prayer. She was right this time. The air in the doorway shimmered, as if heat and cold were fighting over the same space. The smell of rain mixed with something sweet, like candle wax and burning paper. Behind me, the copy's breath brushed the back of my neck, almost tender. In front of me, the light spilling through the cracked door pulsed softly, heartbeat slow, heartbeat sure. I whispered, "If she's really in there, why are you out here?" No answer. Only a small laugh, too close, too familiar. "Because you never wanted to know what you left behind." The phrase sliced through me. Somewhere deep, it made sense, though I didn't want it to. Inside, the real voice sobbed again, pleading, desperate. The copy moved closer, her reflection flickering across the wet glass of the door, a perfect echo of my daughter, down to the scar on her wrist she got when she fell off her bike. Every detail matched, except for her eyes. They were calm. Too calm. "Mom," the voice from inside cried, pounding the wood now. "They won't let me stay unless you open it." I tightened my grip on the handle. The phone buzzed again, screen lighting up between my fingers. 2 words appeared in bright white. "Make peace," the copy whispered beside me. "You already made it once." I turned. Her hand reached toward mine. Her fingers were trembling. Not cold, shaking, as if something inside her was coming undone. "If you open that door," she said softly, "you'll lose her again. The real one. The one who chose to forget." I stared at the door. The light inside flickered faster now, brightening with each second, pulsing like it could sense my hesitation. A thin crack split through the wood, warm light leaking out in jagged lines. Behind me, thunder rolled low and slow across the yard. The copy's voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you remember the day she stopped calling you Mom?" My throat closed. Yes, I remembered. The day she said she was moving out, that she didn't need me anymore, that the internship would fix everything. I had said something cruel. I had slammed the door first. Now another one waited to be opened. The phone in my hand vibrated one last time. A new message appeared. "Open the door to forgive. Keep it closed to survive." The light from inside was golden now, almost gentle. And the voice behind the door, my daughter's voice, broke completely. "Please, Mom. Just don't let them take me again." I looked from the door to the reflection behind me. 2 daughters. 2 truths. 1 choice. I closed my eyes and turned the handle. The wood shuddered under my hand as I pushed it open. Warm air spilled out, soft and heavy, carrying the faint scent of lavender and dust. Her scent, the one that had faded from her room months ago. I stepped inside slowly. The floor creaked like an old memory trying to speak. For a moment, everything looked normal. The hallway light glowed dim and steady. The family photos hung in the same crooked line they always had. Her graduation robe lay folded over the arm of a couch, still damp but clean now, as if it had never touched rain. Then I saw her. She stood near the window, back turned, shoulders trembling. Her hair was tied the way she used to wear it as a child, loose and uneven, one ribbon missing. "Sweetheart," I whispered. She didn't move. "I'm here," I said again louder. She turned slowly, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Mom, I thought you wouldn't come." I almost ran to her. Almost. But the air between us felt thick, wrong, like walking through someone else's dream. She reached out a hand. Her skin looked warm, real, but I hesitated. Because on her wrist, right where the scar should have been, there was nothing. Smooth, perfect skin. I stepped back. Her smile faltered. "Mom!" Outside, thunder groaned. And then, the other voice came from the open doorway behind me. "Now you see." I turned. The copy stood there in the rain, eyes darker than before, but her body was fading, dissolving into streaks of light and shadow, like smoke caught in a breeze. "You had to open it to understand," she said, her voice soft, almost kind. "She's not lost. She's rewritten." The girl inside reached for me again. "Mom, please. I'm right here." But her reflection in the window didn't move. It stood still, smiling faintly, as though waiting for a cue. My phone buzzed one last time. A message appeared. No sound, no number, only text. Every choice leaves a version behind. The girl took another step forward. Her outline flickered, the same golden light bleeding through her shape that had once leaked from the crack in the door. The air vibrated, humming softly, and I suddenly understood. She wasn't a replacement. She was what I remembered of her. I reached out, fingers trembling, brushing against her hand. It felt warm for one heartbeat, then cold, fading, light dissolving like mist. "I forgive you," I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I said it to, her or myself or both. And then, in the silence that followed, the rain stopped completely. The house stood still, empty and quiet, except for a faint whisper echoing from the phone in my hand. "Now she can rest." For a long time I didn't move. The world had gone still. No wind, no rain, no hum of electricity. Only the faint scent of lavender and something faintly metallic, like old coins left in water. The light that had filled the room had thinned to a quiet gray. Where she'd stood, the air shimmered, then folded back into nothing. The house felt lighter, but emptier too, as if something had been carried away. I sat down slowly on the edge of the couch. The robe she'd worn for graduation lay across my knees. When I touched it, it was dry now, weightless, almost new. Inside the pocket, my fingers brushed a small, folded note. It was written in her handwriting, uneven, hurried. "If they ever call again, don't answer. I'll be fine now. You just have to live." The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. I pressed the note to my chest, breathing in the faint trace of her perfume, the one she'd borrowed from me for her ceremony. It was still there, the last piece of her that felt alive. Outside, dawn had begun to rise. Pale blue light crept through the curtains, spilling across the photos on the wall. In every picture, her face looked softer somehow, less strained, as if she'd finally exhaled somewhere I couldn't follow. My phone lay on the coffee table, screen black. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then it vibrated once, a single, short pulse. A notification appeared, voicemail received. Unknown number. My stomach turned cold. I almost didn't press play, but my hand moved anyway. Her voice, calm now, peaceful, filled the room. "Mom, it's okay. You did it. Don't look for me anymore. I'll always be where you left me, in the moment you chose to open the door." The message ended with a quiet click. I sat there for a long while, letting the morning settle over the house. The light touched the edge of the diploma case on the table, now sealed again, ribbon tied clean and new. The air no longer hummed. The house had finally stopped listening. When I stood to leave, I took nothing with me but the note. I closed the door gently behind me, and for the first time in months, I didn't look back. The morning light followed me down the steps. The gravel crunched softly under my shoes, that quiet, steady rhythm that used to guide me on long walks with her when she was little. Back then, she'd hold my hand, pointing at every bird, every flower, every cloud that looked like something magical. Now, the same road felt endless. Each step echoed with memories that had nowhere left to go. The fields on both sides were soaked from the rain. Mist clung low over the ground, curling around the fences like breath from something sleeping. In the distance, I could hear the faint sound of church bells. 3 chimes. Slow, measured, peaceful. When I reached the crossroad, I stopped. The signpost leaned slightly, its paint worn off by years of wind and storms. One arrow pointed toward Havenbrook, the small town where she was buried. The other, barely visible under the rust, read home. I stood there, torn between the two. One would take me to her grave. The other would take me back to an empty house that no longer felt haunted, only waiting. Then I felt it, a warmth on my palm. I looked down. The note, the one I had pressed to my heart, was glowing faintly in the sunlight, the ink shimmering as if still wet. When I unfolded it again, new words had appeared beneath the old ones. "You already came home once, Mom. Don't come looking for me. Just keep the door open for whoever's still lost." My throat tightened. The letters looked fragile, fading slowly into the paper, as if written in breath instead of ink. I folded it carefully, placed it back inside my pocket, and whispered into the wind. "I will." The bells rang again, 4 chimes now, brighter this time. A single crow took flight from the fence post, cutting through the morning haze. I turned toward the path that led home. The air smelled of wet earth and sun, the kind that comes only after the storm has done its work. And as I walked, the sound of the wind brushing through the fields almost sounded like her laughter, distant, but no longer sad. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. When I got back, the house felt different. Not emptier, lighter. The air no longer carried that heavy stillness that had pressed against my chest for months. It smelled like rain and sunlight mixed, like a season trying to start over. I set my purse on the table and looked around. The clock ticked quietly, the same one she gave me for my birthday when she was 16. It had stopped for days after she left, then started again last night. Now it ticked steady and calm, as if time itself had forgiven us. I made tea, not because I needed it, but because it felt right, a ritual for the living. The steam curled upward, soft and white, like breath in cold air. It reminded me that I was still here. Then I sat by the window with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. For the first time, I didn't write for her. I wrote to her. My darling, if you can read this, it means you've found peace somewhere the world can't hurt you anymore. I want you to know I'm not angry. Not at you. Not at myself. Not even at what was taken from us. You see, pain is just the echo of love trying to find a place to rest. And I think we've both found ours now. I'll keep the door open, just like you asked. For anyone still wandering. For anyone who needs light in the middle of the storm. Maybe that's what mothers are meant to do. Hold the lantern, even after the ones they love have gone ahead. You said I failed you, but I think failure was only the beginning of understanding. I learned that love doesn't always save. Sometimes it only witnesses. And that's enough. Wherever you are, I hope you can see the lavender blooming again. I planted new ones this morning, right by the fence. The soil was soft from the rain, and I swear I heard your voice in the wind. I'll be okay now. You can rest. Love. Mom. I folded the letter neatly and placed it inside the small box on the shelf beside her childhood drawing. A crayon sun over 2 stick figures holding hands. The paper edges were yellowed now, but the colors hadn't faded. As I closed the box, I whispered softly, "This time, I won't wait by the phone. I'll wait by the garden." Outside, the clouds parted. A single ray of sunlight fell through the window, landing right on the letter's corner. It glowed for a second, then dimmed, leaving only warmth behind. If you stayed with me till now, thank you. Tell me in the comments what peace looks like to you. And if you believe that forgiveness is another form of love, share the story with someone who might need to hear it tonight. Spring came early that year. The air smelled of soil and rain, and the lavender I planted began to rise, small and shy, pushing through the dirt with quiet courage. Every morning, I'd open the curtains and watch their slow, patient fight toward the light. It reminded me of her, of how she once said that flowers bloom hardest after storms. I spent my days tending the garden, trimming, watering, speaking softly to the leaves. Neighbors started stopping by more often, to ask about the plants, to share tea, to sit in silence when words weren't enough. One of them, a young mother, told me she'd lost her husband last winter. She said she came just to breathe in the lavender because it smells like hope. I smiled. Then take some home, I told her. Hope should never grow in one place alone. The house no longer echoed. The ticking clock, the kettle's whistle, the soft rustle of curtains in the afternoon breeze, they had become music again. Evenings were quiet but full, the kind of silence that listens instead of haunting. One day, while cleaning the attic, I found the box I thought I'd lost. Inside were old letters, college applications, birthday cards, and one envelope I'd never noticed before. It was addressed to me in her handwriting. No stamp, no date, just my name. I opened it carefully. Mom, if someday things don't make sense, and I'm not the same person you remember, please know I tried. I really did. You always told me that truth comes slow, like dawn, but it always comes. So if you're reading this, it means the dawn found you. And that's enough for me. Love. L. My hands trembled as I held the letter. The paper smelled faintly of rain. I pressed it to my heart and closed my eyes. Somewhere in the quiet, I thought I heard her laugh again, faint but real, like sunlight slipping through clouds. That night, I placed the letter beside the one I wrote her, and together they looked like 2 sides of a same story finally folded closed. The next morning, I brewed tea and sat by the garden gate. A group of sparrows fluttered down, pecking at the soil. The lavender swayed in the breeze, not mourning anymore, just living. I whispered, "You were right, my love. The dawn did come, and for the first time in what felt like forever." I smiled without pain. Summer crept in quietly, as if afraid to disturb what spring had healed. The garden was full now. Lavender, daisies, a small patch of jasmine by the fence. Every petal carried the scent of calm. Every breeze felt like a soft reminder that grief, too, can learn to breathe. I began keeping a small journal again, not of loss this time, but of the small, ordinary miracles that fill a day. June 3rd, rain at dawn, tea perfectly steeped. June 9th, the neighbor's boy brought me cookies. He said the house smells like peace. June 21st, I dreamed of her, but she wasn't sad. She was sitting under the tree, laughing. Each note was brief, simple, and alive. I didn't write to remember anymore. I wrote to keep the light steady. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, I noticed something strange near the old bench, the one my husband built years ago. The wood was weathered, its edges soft with age, but now, carved faintly into the side, were words that hadn't been there before. Home isn't a place. It's the moment you forgive. I traced the letters with my fingers, and they felt smooth. Not new, not old, just right. Maybe the wind did it, or time, or something else entirely. I didn't need to know. That night, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, watching the stars come out one by one. Each light flickered like a heartbeat against the vast, dark sky. And for the first time in years, I didn't wish for anything to come back. I realized that peace isn't something that arrives all at once. It's a quiet visitor. It sits beside you when you stop searching for answers, when you accept that love sometimes ends, but never disappears. The phone on the table lit up. No number, just a single message. "Thank you for keeping the door open." I smiled. No fear this time, only warmth. I whispered into the night, "You can rest now. I'm home." And as the breeze passed through the lavender, the wind chimes at the porch began to sing softly, a sound like laughter carried across the years. I closed my eyes and let it play. It's been a year since that message, a year since I last heard her voice, soft as wind, whispering that she was free. I still wake before dawn, not from habit, but because the quiet feels holy then. The house glows pale gold, the air smells faintly of tea and rain, and the lavender outside hums with bees beginning their day. It's strange how life returns so gently without asking permission. I've started volunteering at the community center in town. They call me Mrs. Lorraine, though some just say the woman with the lavender scent. Every Thursday, I help young mothers write letters to their children, not for now, but for someday. Letters to remind them that love, even when it bends, never breaks completely. Sometimes, when I read their words, I hear echoes of my own voice from the past, raw, trembling, hopeful. In the corner of my living room, there's a new photo frame. Inside it, not a picture, just 2 folded letters. Hers and mine. The ink has faded slightly, but the paper still holds warmth, as if both of us are still writing somewhere beyond time. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled across the porch, a girl from the neighborhood came running with a broken pot in her hands. Her name was Lucy. She was crying, holding the shattered pieces of a plant she dropped. "It's ruined," she sobbed. I knelt beside her, gathering the soil and the tiny green stem. "No, sweetheart," I said softly. "It's not ruined. It's just waiting to grow again." She sniffled, then whispered, "Like you." I smiled. "Yes, exactly like me." We replanted it together in a small clay pot. When the last bit of soil was packed in, Lucy looked up and said, "You're going to name it, right?" I thought for a moment. Then I whispered, "Hope." That night, the moon hung low and warm. I stood by the window, looking at the small plant, its leaves trembling in the breeze. Somewhere in the distance, the wind carried the faint sound of church bells, slow, patient, forgiving. I closed my eyes, breathed in, and felt it. Her presence, not haunting anymore, but rooted in everything that still lived. The laughter in the garden, the scent of lavender, the little girl who believed things could bloom again. The phone on the table buzzed once more. A message, this time from the community group. "Grace hands, new branch opening tomorrow." I laughed quietly to myself. The foundation she inspired had found new soil to grow in. I turned off the light, left the window open, and whispered to the night. We did it, my love. We kept the door open. And as the wind moved through the curtains, I could swear I heard her answer. A soft echo, light as air. I know, Mom. I never really left. The next morning, the world was silver with dew. Sunlight spilled across the yard, bending through the glass wind chimes and scattering into soft prisms of color. I stood on the porch, coffee steaming in my hands, and for the first time, I didn't feel the weight of waiting. Only the quiet rhythm of life continuing. The lavender was taller now, almost brushing the porch rail. The small plant Lucy and I called Hope had started to flower, tiny buds, trembling but determined. Each time I looked at it, I thought of her. Not as a memory, but as a presence that no longer hurt to remember. The mail came late that afternoon. Among the usual envelopes, bills, newsletters, church announcements, was a small one, no return address. My heart gave a slow, curious beat. The paper was thick, cream-colored, sealed with a faint golden wax mark, a circle with a single line through it. I opened it gently. Inside was a simple card, one line written in blue ink. Every story ends where another begins. Thank you for finishing ours. No signature. But I knew. I didn't need proof. I smiled and placed the card beside the 2 old letters in the frame. The trio looked complete. 3 voices, 3 moments of love, grief, and peace bound by the same thread of truth. That evening, I walked out to the garden one last time before dusk. The air was cool, soft, alive with the hum of crickets. A breeze carried the scent of lavender, wrapping around me like an embrace. I closed my eyes, breathing it in, and whispered, "Rest easy now. We made it." For a moment, I thought I saw her again, not standing, not weeping, but smiling among the flowers. Then the light shifted, and she was gone. But the warmth stayed. I turned back toward the house. The porch light flickered on automatically, bathing everything in a soft, golden glow. Inside, the clock chimed 7, steady, sure. I took one last look at the garden, at the stars beginning to pierce the sky, and I felt something deep and wordless settle inside me. It wasn't closure. It was continuity. Life, gentle and relentless, finding new soil to grow in. And as I stepped inside, I whispered what I'd learned through every storm, every shadow, every echo of love that refused to die. Peace doesn't come when the story ends. It comes when you're brave enough to keep living after it. If this story touched your heart, don't leave quietly. Subscribe now, not for me, but for the next story that might heal someone else. Every new subscriber keeps these voices alive.